Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. What to know about your whale sharks adventure with Nat Hab. We have a great panel today, and first I'd like to introduce Nat Hab's head of field staff, Renata Haas. It's wonderful to have you all with us today. Renata, off to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kendall. And hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for taking the time to learn more about our whale sharks adventure. I am so excited to talk about some warm weather destinations as I look at snow. But first and foremost, what I would love to do is take the time to introduce two of our absolutely wonderful expedition leaders, Melissa and Daniel. Melissa, will you please take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. So, well, my name is Melissa Silva. I am a marine biologist. So this specific topic is one of my favorites because, well, it has it all. It's in the ocean. It has a beautiful and I consider charismatic animal. So I hope you find this webinar interesting and educative and informative, most of all. So please, any question you have, let us know. We will be very happy of answer.
Thanks, Melissa. And Daniel, tell us about yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Daniel, and I was born in New Jersey. My parents are Mexican Swiss, so a little bit of a mix there. I've been living in Mexico for 20 years now. I live in central Mexico. I also lead monarch butterfly trips for Natural Habitat and the whale sharks in the summer. I am an environmental educator and also naturalist, and I'm passionate about ecology and making connections between the social, between the spiritual, between biology, and that's what these trips are really. They really are a combination of all these amazing things.
Thanks so much, Daniel. And I am Renata. I have been working with Nat Hab for 7 years now. I've done quite a bit with the company. I have overseen logistics for a variety of our trips and now currently oversee all of our field staff around the world, and also have led our team that has developed our COVID protocols throughout the little bit over the past year. So what we wanted to do before we jump into what it's like to experience this phenomenal trip is take some time to tell you about our COVID protocols. We are now traveling in a world of COVID, so we think it's incredibly important for everyone that's either going on a trip with Natural Habitat or thinking about it to understand a little bit more about how we created our protocols and what we're doing to reduce the risk of getting COVID on a trip. So that being said, first and foremost, it is incredible amount of work to create these protocols. I'll tell you a little bit about the process. But we have a team of individuals within the office, and when COVID first started and we decided that we wanted to be running trips, we met pretty much daily. And Natural Habitat has actually been running trips since this past July. We have run programs in Yellowstone, Costa Rica, Mexico, Kenya, the Galapagos. We're currently running some programs in Florida, and we haven't had any transmissions of COVID through any of our guests or any of our field staff, and that's because we're taking a lot of preventative measures and a lot of care in how we are moving forward with these trips. One thing I should say about our COVID protocols and how we're implementing them in the field is that a trip that leaves tomorrow is likely going to or could look very different from a trip that's leaving in July or August or September or in 2022. So we are constantly looking at our protocols to see what changes we need to make based on where the program is going, the scientific information that we have at our hands, and just what the general state of the world is like. So it's something we're constantly looking at. So how we developed these protocols, I think, is incredibly important. We started with our team, and we needed to do a lot of research. So we researched recommendations from the Center of Disease Control and the World Health Organization to create the skeleton of these protocols. After that skeleton was created, we determined that it was incredibly important to collaborate with industry experts, both within the outdoor industry and the adventure travel industry, to exchange best practices and help us in creating our standards. After we had those discussions, we then needed to sort out how we are going to work with all of our partners around the globe. So we had to create a screening process for our any restaurants, hotels, transportation, activity provider, anybody that we're working with around the world, to make sure we are able to understand how they are implementing COVID protocols and to make sure that they are meeting our standards. After working with our partners around the globe, we created a screening process as well. So we have a health questionnaire that our guests and field staff fill out prior to going on a Nat Hab trip, as well as temperature and screening checks throughout the trip as well. Next is training. Every single guide that works with us and operations staff will actually do a training with me before the start of their season. So we're having multiple trainings as new seasons run, because information is changing, our protocols are changing slightly, and it's incredibly important that our team in the field is trained with the most up-to-date information. And obviously, if anything changes during the course of the season, we'll have an updated training with anything that needs to be updated to our team. And then finally, we're establishing more and more ways to set expectations, not just with our partners in the field or our expedition leaders and field staff, but also with our guests. So we've got obviously having these webinars, there's information on our websites, but we also send anyone that signed up on any of our trips with their pre-departure information that tells them all the details about their itinerary and their trip. They're also going to get 2 KN95 masks, hand sanitizer, sanitizing wipes, and a little bit of more detailed information on how to reduce their risk of getting COVID when they leave the house. So that way you're ready to go as soon as you step out of your house and can take steps to mitigate your own risk. So that is how we have set up our protocols, and our protocols focus on what is called a combination intervention approach. And what that means is that we feel that a combination of interventions will lead to a stronger mitigation of risk of COVID transmission. And this combination intervention approach has essentially 4 major pillars. First and foremost is respiratory hygiene. We all have our masks. We're all used to this at this point where we are with dealing with COVID. So we do ask that guests wear masks when we're inside or not able to social distance. Depending on the regulation of the country, sometimes the country might say, or the location might say, that you have to wear masks if you're outside, and we'll abide by those local government regulations. After respiratory hygiene comes hand hygiene. We want to make sure that there is ample opportunity for our guests and our field staff to be cleaning their hands, whether that is with hand sanitizer or just creating more hand washing stations and opportunities. And then, of course, social distancing. We're all incredibly used to that at this point. We make sure that we allow for just general space. The great thing about natural habitat programs is they're originally, we just operate with smaller groups. So it's incredibly easy for us to get away from the crowds, to be socially distanced from everyone else. And then it's easy to spread our group out when we've got 8, 10, 12, 14 people in a group versus a rather large bus. So we also do that with our meals. We try to get sort of first and foremost meals outside, socially distanced. If we're inside, we're trying to do private rooms, socially distanced. And if we are inside in meals and we're not able to have a private room, making sure that we're socially distanced and able to abide by the local government regulations on how full a restaurant can be. And last but not least is enhanced sanitation. So what that means is we are taking the additional time to clean and sanitize any high-touch objects that might be shared with guests. So that's additional cleaning of our vehicles. If we're utilizing trekking poles that might be shared between individuals, you either get your own for the trip, or we'll just make sure that they are sanitized in between uses. So those are the basis of the combination intervention approach. We have made a lot of headway in America with vaccines and testing though. So we have decided to implement some policies on that as well. So for all trips that are starting July 1st and onward, we will actually be requiring vaccines for our guests. And that are 18 years and older. And this is for not just to reduce the risk of getting COVID from our guests to our guests, but also we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to mitigate the risks to our local expedition leaders, to our local operations staff, and then to the local communities that we visit. So that is a requirement that is starting July 1. And then for this trip specifically, at this point could change. Mexico is requiring guests to get tested prior to heading back to the US. That's actually something that Nat Hab facilitates. So you really don't need to worry about it. It's just gonna take place on your trip. We organize it for you and then get you back to the States. Another COVID-focused item that Mexico requires is for you to fill out a health questionnaire. We recommend doing that before you depart your home for your trip. You can do it online, makes it super easy. Once you fill it out, you'll have a QR code that you are able to show to immigration. Of course, all of this information, if you are taking a trip with us, is outlined in your pre-departure briefing. And then if you have any additional questions, you can always ask our adventure specialists. That being said, that is the COVID information that you need to know for our whale sharks adventure. Again, I'll note that these things can and have been changing quite rapidly sometimes. So we'll always make sure that we update you with the most up-to-date information. That being said, let's start talking about Mexico and this wonderful whale sharks adventure. And what I want to know from Melissa and Daniel, I want to know why you're so excited about leading this trip. What lights you up about this adventure? Melissa, how about you tell us first?
Yeah, well, as I said, being a marine biologist, this is like being in my element, you know, the water. This is a beautiful area to be just enjoying the scenery. But more than that, I think this specific species is very special in terms of scientific terms, because despite it is one of the biggest animals on Earth, we know very little about it. So it's a marvelous giant, but very mysterious at the same time. So being there and share with you, with our guests, this area of Mexico and these animals and all the science behind this is very special for me personally. So I think that would be it. Like, I really like to share what we know so far about the species, plus the area that Mexico and all the things that Mexico has to offer in this Caribbean paradise.
Thanks so much, Melissa. Daniel, what do you love about this trip?
What can I say? For me personally, swimming alongside these gentle giants it has been an amazing experience from the very first time, and it's a life-changing experience is what I would say. And so just being able to share that and the setting and setting the mood and the feeling around this experience, sharing the beautiful Yucatan Peninsula around the whale sharks, all the birds, the snorkeling, the cenotes. It's just a joy to be able to do that in a group.
Thanks so much. It sounds and looks incredible. I have not had the luxury of being able to go on this trip yet, but I know I will at some point, and I just can't wait to be swimming along these magnificent animals. Well, first, before we start getting into it, I think that the way that we've been talking about these webinars is because I haven't been on this trip, I want to know more about it, not just more about the activities and the itinerary, but honestly, we need to start from me being at home and packing my bag to get ready to go to Mexico. So, Melissa, I would love for you to tell me a little bit more about what the weather is like on this trip and what do I actually need to pack so I can get ready for this adventure?
Yes, so basically we have sunny days. It's hot. It's in the tropics. We're on the coast. So just be ready with light fabrics, cotton if you have, or with this long sleeve kind of a fishing gear, let's say fishing clothing, like the one we see here in this photo, because it will cover you from the sun. That's something very important that you have to bring: sun protection, sun hat, sunglasses, the drift safe sunblock, and well, layers just to be comfortable during the day. We go out very early in the morning, so we need to cover a little bit with the wind because of the wind. So eventually we'll be just like this fun group in the water. So just clothing that it's okay if it gets wet, dries fast. And something very important that I've noticed is shoes that are comfortable to walk on the sand, comfortable to walk on the street, but also that if they get wet, there is no problem, because sometimes we are walking from the shore to the boat, and you walk in the water, so they get wet, and that would be something that we have to keep in mind. Comfortable shoes, maybe some tennis shoes, or this I don't know, this kind of open sandals that we can see in this photograph. So that would be the very basic and the most important thing. I will recommend some binoculars. I will recommend a backpack for your day packing. You may need, I don't know, a light towel, windbreaker, for example, for the way back from the whale shark area to the hotel. So sometimes when we are wet, it gets a little bit chilly. What else? Shorts, of course, but also if you have these convertible pants, the ones that you can zip in and unzip to convert in shorts, those are very, very neat. What else? Those would be like the ones I have in mind right now. So that's my recommendation. I don't know if Daniel has any extra to mention about the packing list.
Anything else from your end, Daniel? It sounds like Melissa has given us quite the list.
I think she covered all the special equipment required. Yeah.
Perfect. So I've got my bags packed, I've got my sun hat, I've got my zip off pants, I've got my binoculars. I am boarding a plane and I'm going to Mexico, which I would do tomorrow. Daniel, tell me a little bit about what it's like to arrive in Cancun. I think that's my biggest stressor when I am traveling internationally, is just not knowing what to expect when I land. Can you tell me a little bit what a guest can expect at during this time.
Sure. The Cancun airport is a little busier than you might expect. So a little bit of a hustle and bustle once you get to the airport. Obviously, you have to go through immigration. You have to hand in your healthcare questionnaire, which if you've done beforehand, you can have on your phone. Once you pass, have your bags, and you've gotten out into the airport, you have to exit the airport. So there'll be a lot of operators and hotel representatives and tour operators will be trying to call your attention. They'll be trying to sell you a tour or maybe thinking you're somebody else. So you just basically have to ignore all these people, have to keep on going until you reach this outside area. And there'll be a person with a Nat Hab sign. We'll have Natural Habitat Adventures logo, the little panda, so that you'll be able to recognize that. And so they'll be there. It's a little warm. Once you get there, don't get frustrated. There's a lot of people, but you can always find the person looking for you. And that's basically it. Some people ask about changing money, changing dollars at the hotel. You don't at the airport. You don't have to do that at the airport. You can do it once you get to the hotel, or basically on this trip, you can use dollars all along the trip. So it's not really necessary to have any Mexican pesos. But so yeah, you don't have to worry about that at the airport.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. It sounds like we are well taken care of. I will note, though, everyone that works at Nat Hab and all of our destinations is incredibly good at finding our guests, and it's very easy to identify a Nat Hab logo. It can be helpful. We do send out natural habitat luggage tags. If you have a natural habitat hat, wearing that when you get off the plane, because that makes it just triply easy to find you. But very, very easy to get picked up in Cancun. So now I've arrived. I have found my driver. I am ready to go. However, I would like to know a little bit more about what this trip looks like, because the last time, well, I actually haven't been to Cancun during spring break, but that is what I think about when I think about Cancun, is spring break and a lot of very young people. So Melissa, tell me a little bit more about what this actual itinerary and the route looks like that we'll be taking on this trip.
So now just forget about those spring breakers. We don't see them. So you can see in this map that we are actually outside of Cancun. So the hotels and everything is way north. From the airport, you go directly to the south to our hotel in Puerto Morelos. We don't even go near Cancun area. So it's down there to Soetri, and then we go back up north to Holbox. These two rides are in a very comfortable sprinters that we have actually 2 per group. So there's plenty of room. Everyone has a window seat, very, very comfortable. In these trips, we always go 2 expedition leaders. So each one of us go in one of the sprinters with the group. And well, as I mentioned, we have the shuttle from the airport to the hotel, and then from the hotel next day to Chiquilaport. It's about an hour and a half ride. We have a stop somewhere there halfway to have lunch, for bathroom facilities. We call those biological stops. So once we get to Chiquilaport, we go to Holbox. We have to cross this lagoon, estuarine lagoon, that we go by ferry. We go by ferry. It's a very comfortable ferry. It's a very nice experience. Of course, as Daniel said, it's kind of hot out there. It's Caribbean tropics. But it is a very nice experience to go atop of the ferry, because you are able to see like the whole area. So you have the wind blowing, and then you can see sometimes dolphins in this place. You will see birds. You will see the Holbox island in front of us. So it's a very nice ride, 25, 35-minute stop, depending on the water conditions. And then once we arrive to Holbox, it's very easy busy because we have taxis there that they have a very nice system for the people arriving on the ferry. They are golf carts. So it's very nice to have these kind of vehicles there, because the island actually is very little. It's long and narrow. So we don't really, or people in the area don't really like big trucks or big cars, because, well, they take a lot of space. So basically, these are the cars that we can find, some ATV, some similar vehicles to this. And well, those are the ones we use to go to the hotel, and later in one activity to just drive around the island. So for our experience with the whale shark, we take a couple of boats. Once again, we have 2 boats per group. Half of the group goes in one with one of the expedition leaders, and a couple of local guides. They are very comfortable. They have a lot of room. So once again, people is going to be very, very comfortable. And I think one of the questions that a lot of people have is that how do you go up and down the boats? So we have some ladders. Here you can see, as I previously mentioned, we have wet boardings and wet landings. So it's very easy to hop up in the boat. For the activities in open sea, is basically the same. You go out in one of the sides of the boat and you go in the other side. So it's very well organized and very easy. You can see the ladders are super comfortable and super easy to grip. So yeah, no worries. It's not even high. So very, very easy to go in the boat.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Melissa. I did not realize that there were so many ways that we are going to be moving around on this trip. I personally absolutely love boats, love ferries, and honestly really do love golf carts. I've recently gotten into golf, so that has been very, very fun. And I love the idea that we are using golf carts as a means of transportation, because it definitely allows us a lot more flexibility in where we're able to go. So thank you for that. So I know the types of transportation that we are going to be using on this trip, but Daniel, will you tell me a little bit more about what the hotels are like on this program? That, for me, is quite important.
Yes. So we're staying at 2 different hotels on this trip, both very beautiful hotels. One is in Puerto Morelos, which is just right next to Cancun. It has the same beautiful Caribbean blue ocean, and the facilities are very nice. They're like fancy upscale resorts. So this means we're secluded from those spring breakers. They're very nice hotels. They're very nature oriented, so lots of open spaces. At this first Puerto Morelos hotel, you can find iguanas roaming around the path, and rooms are very nice. This hotel has a couple of different restaurants and bars. As I said, the views, the facilities and installations are very comfortable, very nice, a couple of different pools, lots of different sitting areas, and also great temperature. This picture that we're looking at now, that's the hotel in Holbox, which is also a really nice hotel. It's a smaller hotel. I think probably the best hotel on the island. It has a great pool as well. It has a restaurant. Both restaurants, they all have all-included meals, and I think it's almost entirely open bar. The rooms are very comfortable, spacious, and also each room has their own separate little pool, which is nice, and very, very really beachfront as well. So very comfortable where we're going to be spending our downtime, kind of to hide from the sun once in a while.
Sounds absolutely incredible, Daniel, like absolute bliss. So we know the hotels that we're staying at, they look absolutely incredible. I am always wondering about food on any trips that I am taking, especially being a vegetarian. I tend to want to know if they're going to be able to accommodate my dietary requirements, or if I need to bring like 18 Cliff Bars from home. So Melissa, tell me a little bit about what our culinary experience is going to be like on this program.
Yeah, so no need for you to bring anything from home. We can certainly have all of the requirements fulfilled. So yeah, it's well, being on the coast, we have a lot of fresh seafood, but also we have a lot of fresh fruit from the area. Of course, as Daniel already mentioned, the hotel meals are all included during the trip. But also, I think one of the special meals that we have is on day one, that we have lunch in a special area with an orchid park, an orchid center. And this meal is very authentic. One of the, I think the food is a way to approach local communities, local people. So the lady that prepares all of this, the food that we're watching right now, it's a local, a native from the area. So all of this is like authentic food from the Yucatan Peninsula. So that really gives you a close encounter to the culture, to the gastronomy of the area. And oh, my mouth is watering. So it's really, really, it's a whole experience itself, the food in the place. So I think it really adds to the whale shark experience, what we have during these days for meals. So yeah, no worries about like vegetarian or pescatarian. Well, obviously we have plenty of options. We can cover all of that.
Excellent. Thank you, Melissa. I love that on Nat Hab trips, we really try to incorporate the local community with food as much as possible. I think it's a wonderful way to connect with people, because I know we all connect very deeply with people that we love in places that we go to through food. Fantastic. So I know that I am not going to go hungry. It is a Nat Hab trip, and that is a saying I think that we all have. So let's talk a little bit about the other activities that we are going to experience on this trip. I know that obviously we are going to be swimming with whale sharks, but that's not the only thing that we're going to be doing. So Daniel, can you tell me a little bit about this activity that we'll be doing on the trip?
This is the Cenote Visit. Probably one of my favorite activities on this trip. Cenotes are like underground water holes. So they're like a connected system of caves, and so we walk down these steps and submerge ourselves into this water hole. It's pristine water. It's water from a spring that is connected to other water springs in the area. And so this whole system of cenotes is original to the Yucatan. I believe there are some in Cuba as well. But they're amazing places to go swimming because the water is so fresh, so clean, and you're kind of bobbing around in this kind of like a cave. So we kind of exploring the inside with natural lighting, the different formations that you have there in this delicious water. It's completely see-through, so you can see almost all the way down to to the floor after you've been walking around a little in the jungle. So it's very, very refreshing. There's all these local beliefs about the importance of these cenotes to the Mayan culture, to the pre-Hispanic Mayan culture. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that when we're there. And so it's kind of like a mystical, refreshing experience. It's really great.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I feel like my inner 12-year-old would come out here. Melissa, tell me a little bit about this island.
So once we are in Holbox Island, we after the whale sharks activities in the morning time, we take some time at the afternoon just to relax and go around the island by boat. And we visit a couple of islands. This is the Isla de la Passion Island, and we visit another one named Isla Pájaros. So as the name goes, birds everywhere. And we just go around, a little bit of bird watching, a little bit of walking in the area. It's I think one of the most relaxing activities after a full day with the whale sharks. After that, we go back to the island, to downtown, and have dinner over there. So this is one of the places we see while we are on the boat around the place.
Sounds incredibly relaxing. Daniel. So Daniel, you we talked a little bit about the golf cart excursions. Can you tell me a little bit about this activity?
So one of the afternoons we do a tour of the island on golf carts, which is also very fun. So guests have a chance to drive the golf carts, and we can take turns if there's more than a couple who want to drive. And so since the island's not very big, we kind of explore it from end to end. We go through the downtown area, which is a little bit more of like kind of a hippie bohemian scene in the Caribbean. And then we visit the protected area, just the edges of the protected area, where there's a little bit more wildlife. So kind of cross around the island, wind in your face, driving around through the sand paths. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds fantastic. Excellent. So we get to drive around on golf carts, we get to explore islands and go island hopping. And then we also, what we all really want to know about is we get to go swim with the whale sharks. So Melissa, tell me what this experience is like.
So as we said before, we have this wet boarding. The boat goes like right in front of the hotel on the beach, and we go over there very early in the morning. I have to say that, because the earlier the better, less crowded at the spot with the whale sharks. So we have the chance to find a little bit more activity in the surface, let's say, and we basically are able to pick which whale shark we want to swim with. So we start very early in the morning. We go on these boats that we saw previously, very easy with the ladder on one way. This picture here shows very well what I was mentioning before, that you go or jump off in one side of the boat to swim with the whale shark, and on the other side of the boat is the ladder. So we have a very good arrangement over there about the how to run this activity. So what I wanted to point out is that as we mentioned, it is required to use a life jacket or wetsuit, neoprene wetsuit. So if you have one, bring it with you. As you can see here, well, early in the morning, no crowd at all. So this specific moment of the activity, you have to actively swim. If we are not strong swimmers, there's always a local guide that can basically drag you for a moment to keep up with the whale shark. Sometimes we can see them that they are like still in the water, but they are going with the current. Excuse me. So well, just keep that in mind, that we have to be paddling for a while. But I mean, the moment you go in the water is going into a fantastic universe with these marvelous animals, as you can see. So there are some distances that we have to keep, but well, it's completely safe, very fun. Basically, you just have to be focused on look the whale shark, watch what's going on around, because sometimes it's one, sometimes it's two, sometimes you are surrendered by the sharks. It's very beautiful.
Looks absolutely incredible, Melissa. Thank you for that explanation. So with Natural Habitat Adventures, obviously we care deeply about conservation and our environment. So what that also means is there's sort of etiquette around how we should be viewing the animals and how close we should be. So before we start talking a little bit more about some additional species that we might see during this trip, Daniel, can you tell us what other etiquette we might want to observe while we're on this program? We'll give him one more second to see if he, here we go.
There we go. Yes, so we're coming into very close encounters with these magnificent creatures. So there are a series of, let's say, guidelines that we want to follow to make sure that we don't disturb them or don't affect their behavior in any way. So although we are swimming basically almost right alongside the whale sharks, we don't want to be touching them. We can make sounds, we can try and play with them a little, but we are maintaining a couple of feet of distance from the whale sharks. Also, when we're in the water, it'll always be 2 of us at the same time per whale shark. And so that goes along with pretty much want to keep our distances. We don't want to be too many of us in the water at the same time. Also depends if there's other boats out there. That's why we try and leave early to have always the best advantage. And I think one of the great things that one of the Nat Hab trips is that we get to go in as many times as we'd like, with as long as the whale sharks are being cooperative and they're swimming aside, so kind of slowly around. Then they're being very cooperative, and we can be there as long as we like with them. And well, there's a couple of other kind of more specific things that we're going to be talking about once we're on the trip, but using eco-friendly sunscreen lotion is one of the big ones, and insect repellents as well. So this is to protect not only the ocean, but also the cenotes that are so pristine that we're going to be visiting.
Excellent. Thank you for that explanation, Daniel. I can't believe it's just 2 people to 1 whale shark. That is absolutely incredible. So I want to leave a little bit of time for questions. So Kendall, if there are questions, please feel free to let us know.
Great. Yeah, we do have some great questions for you. And I just want to remind everyone who's watching, if you have a question today, you can submit it in your control panel under the questions field. Okay, there were lots of questions about swimming with the whale sharks. A lot of people want to know how much time you're actually spending swimming with them, how many times you think in a trip someone may be able to swim with them, and are there always whale sharks there, or are there days where you won't see any?
Melissa, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So for how long you can swim with a whale shark, it actually depends on a couple of things. One is how fast the whale shark is swimming, and the other one is how fast we can keep up swimming with it. So in general terms, maybe 2 minutes in the water with active swimming with it, but you can swim with the whale shark as many times as we want, as Daniel was saying. since it's a small group, we are try to keep away from the crowd. Basically, let's say in this in the day you will swim 4 or 5 times. It's you go 4 or 5 times to the water with the whale shark. So there are plenty of chances of swimming with it. The other question was if we see them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say 99.5 of the times we see them, because the people we work with in the island, local people, they are always in communication with each other. The captains of these boats, they talk to other captains and they notify, like, they are here, they are there. So I have to say, in all these years, we have always seen whale sharks, except once, and they were like super far that we couldn't reach them. So they were in the area, but not close enough for our boats to get there. So let's say, for practical terms, we always see them.
Great. And of course, always a popular question, when is the best time to go?
Any Nat Hab date. we are proud to say, like, we plan very well the dates. Daniel, if you want to complete that, but I think any date that we have, it's the date.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'd say Nat Hab has selected probably the best dates to go see the whale sharks, the high season for the whale sharks, you could say, when they're the most aggregated in this area, because because you can see whale sharks here and also in other places in the world, but these trips are done at this time and this place because there's such great aggregations of whale sharks. So to add on to what Melissa was saying, she was saying 2 minutes. I'd say 2 minutes is maybe an average, because sometimes if you have an easygoing shark, whale, you could be with them for 5, even 10 minutes, and sometimes they swim away and you pop your head out and the captain says, hey, look to your left, and there comes another whale shark in your direction. So because there's so many in the water usually where we're going, and this would be my 4th year going on this trip, and I've never had a day where we didn't see whale sharks.
So there's a few questions here about gear, so I'm going to start with those. You mentioned sunscreen. Do you provide sunscreen, or should people bring their own?
No, you should bring them. We can share some of ours, but it's better if you bring your own, so you can have it at the moment you need it.
Mm-hmm. And someone was wondering about wetsuits and personal flotation devices. They just want to know a little bit more about what's provided there, and a lot of people are wondering if they should bring their own snorkel gear, their own mask.
We'll provide life vests. If you do have a wetsuit, bring that with you. Snorkel gear, some people prefer to use their own snorkel gear because they've just become more used to their own mask and they know the quirks of their own mask. So either way, if you feel comfortable using the snorkel gear and the mask that we provide, then that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. And more specifically about the wetsuit, someone wants to know what thickness should they bring, and if they should bring a full suit or the short kind.
2 millimeters is okay. The lighter that we use for warm weather. For these waters, 2 millimeters, 3, it's okay, and the short one works very well as well.
Mm-hmm. And if someone isn't able to wear flippers, would they be able to swim still with the whale sharks? Would that be okay?
Yes, if they're not able to wear the flippers, it's preferable to have the flippers. But again, as Melissa was saying, it'll either be one of us expedition leaders or one of the local guides with each guest in the water at all times. So we can help out with the swimming, so that it's not necessary. It helps, but it's not a requirement.
And what's the water temperature like? If someone doesn't want to wear a wetsuit, would they still be comfortable?
Yes.
It's the Caribbean.
It is sometimes it is hotter in the water than outside. So yeah, it's very comfortable just with a regular swimsuit.
Okay, great. There are a lot of questions about bugs. What are the mosquitoes like over there?
There are mosquitoes, but normal. It's a tropic. Yeah, tell us, Daniel.
So bring along a repellent. Again, we'll have extra, but bring your own. And yes, so when we're in the jungle, some of the areas on the island that we visit have more than other places. But yeah, bring along your repellents, and you'll be okay.
Okay, great. Someone here had a question, Renata. I think this one's best for you. In addition to guests, are the expedition leaders and other staff also going to be vaccinated after July 1st?
So at this point, because of how difficult it is to get vaccinated in other areas of the world, it's not a requirement for us yet. So that's why we still have various protocols in place. We are recommending that as soon as those field staff are eligible and it's available, that they do get vaccinated. But unfortunately, due to the global supply, it is difficult for us to. But we will have a protocol in place to mitigate that risk.
Okay, great. So someone here is wondering about underwater cameras. Are there going to be any available? And if not, what do you recommend them bringing?
I recommend the cases for the iPhone, for your phones. Those work really well also for video, and that way, I mean, if you don't have to buy a camera, especially for this trip. But if you can get one of these waterproof cases, that in my experience has worked really well.
Great.
It can be that one, or if you already have a waterproof camera, underwater camera, GoPros work perfectly. But as Daniel said, the phone is just the easiest one.
Mm-hmm.
And the picture we're looking at right now, that's a motmot, the tropical turquoise brown motmot. That's my favorite bird that we can possibly see on the trip. So sometimes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes, my next question was actually going to be if you could just tell us a little bit more about the different wildlife species we'll see on the trip besides whale sharks.
Well, we actually saw some of those, a lot of birds. There's plenty of birds that are native to this area. The motmot that Daniel already mentioned. There is the tricolor heron, the reddish egret, flamingos, of course. These are Caribbean flamingos. There are some other species, but we have some migratory birds, pelicans specifically. Well, as you can see, lobsters. When we are snorkeling on our last day in Puerto Morelos, the barracuda that we saw in a previous image. So yeah, I mean, it's a tropic, it's the Caribbean. We have a reef in front of the area, so plenty of biodiversity in terms of fauna and flora as well. A lot of native species of plants, flowers that are native to the area. So it's a whole experience on itself too.
Two more questions here about the whale sharks really quickly. How big do they get and what do they eat?
Melissa, go ahead.
Yeah, they eat plankton or most of the time microorganisms, but also they can eat fish eggs, spawns, and they can eat small shrimps. We don't really have a krill like the one that you can find in northern or southern hemisphere, but if we have an aggregation of fish, small fish, or very small crustacean, they will eat those. So they are filter feeders, we call those. So they just take the water in the mouth through the gills, and later they swallow whatever they filter, like all of these microorganisms. And they get as big as, I'm thinking in meters, let me make the conversion, it's about, the minimum size that we have seen that is recorded in the area is like 14 meters. Daniel, can you help me with that? 14 meters?
Feet.
In feet?
Por 14 metros.
Ajá. Sí.
Como 20, como 20 to 25 feet, the smallest.
The smallest, ajá. And the largest ever recorded was 21 meters or so. But that was somewhere in Philippines or Australia, somewhere there. But here, the whale sharks we see are mostly young ones. So they are not fully grown.
Okay, final question today. Someone was just wondering if there would be an opportunity before or after the trip to go see any of the Mayan ruins.
Danny?
Yes. If you have planned a couple of days before or after the trip, there are very close ruins. Tulum, the archaeological site in Tulum is very beautiful, and that's only about half an hour away from where we're staying. And then there's a bunch of other archaeological sites which are just a little further away, but definitely worth visiting, like Palenque or Chichen Itza.
All right, great. Well, everyone, thank you so much for presenting today. This was really, really interesting. You're getting my travel juices flowing. I can't wait to go and swim with the whale sharks soon. We are past the top of the hour, so I'm going to call it there with questions and hand it back over to each of you for any closing comments you'd like to make. And let's start with Daniel.
I guess if anybody's on the fence of this about this trip, I would say definitely do it. It is such a beautiful environment to visit, so many colors to see in the ocean, in the air, and that's just additional to swimming, to the actual experience of swimming with the whale sharks. So definitely a bucket list experience if you haven't done it, I'd say.
And Melissa?
Yeah, well, as I said previously, come with your mind open, your heart open, because this is Mexico that I'm pretty sure not a lot of people know, and not a lot of people is aware that exists. So really come as soon as you can, and you will love it.
And Renata?
Thanks, Kendall. Kendall, thank you so much for facilitating this, as always. And I hope those individuals who are going on this trip are getting incredibly excited. And if you're thinking about it, I hope you decide to take the journey with us. So thank you so much for taking the time, and know that you will enjoy it.
All right, thanks again, you three, and my thanks as well to everyone who joined us today. Remember, if you want more information about this trip, you can visit our website, nathab.com, or give us a call at the office, and we're happy to answer any questions you have. Be sure to join us tomorrow for our next Daily Dose of Nature. You can check out our latest lineup on our website, including registration links. We did record today's presentation, and we'll have the replay available on our website soon. And with that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.